You know that feeling when something just feels off, that tiny voice in your gut screaming louder than any rational thought? That's where this nightmare started for me. My wife, Sarah, the woman I built a life with for 8 years, the one I trusted completely, started saying she had to work late. A lot at first. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. We were busy, stressed, you know how life gets. But the excuses piled up. The missed dinners, the distant look in her eyes when she finally got home. The way her phone suddenly became glued to her hip, screen always face down. My gut churned. Trust was crumbling, piece by piece. The anxiety ate at me. Was I being paranoid, jealous, or was my worst fear true? One Tuesday, after another vague text about a critical project deadline, that fear took over. I did something I never thought I could do. I opened that phone tracking app we'd set up years ago for safety, just to see. My hand was shaking. Seeing that little dot wasn't at her office downtown, but pulsing steadily in a quiet residential area across town. It felt like a punch to the chest. I recognized the street. It led straight to Mark's apartment. Mark, her, just a friend, co-worker. The one she laughed a little too easily with. Dry mouth, cold sweat, heart hammering against my ribs. I drove. Every red light felt like an eternity. Seeing her car parked outside his building, that confirmation shattered whatever hope was left. This wasn't a mistake. It was real. Blind rage and crushing heartbreak warred inside me. I didn't think. I just moved. I walked up the steps, my fist pounding on his door harder than I intended. The look on her face when she opened it, pure shock, then terror. The shouting started instantly, accusations flying, denials crumbling. It was chaos, raw and brutal. I barely remember what I screamed, but standing there on that doorstep, hearing their voices twist the truth, feeling my whole world crumble, I knew nothing would ever be the same. And what happened next? Well, let's just say nuclear doesn't even begin to cover it. I was frozen on the sidewalk outside, listening to the fallout. Why this works. Strong hook. Starts immediately with relatable unease and dread. Something just feels off. Closing parenthesis. Human-centric. Focuses on the narrator's internal struggled out. Anxiety. Betrayal. Using simple emotional language. Punch to the chest. Shattered hope. Crushing heartbreak. Builds suspense. Gradually escalates from suspicion to tech discovery to physical confrontation. Introduces key elements. Establishes the marriage. The wife, Sarah. The co-worker, Mark. The working late lie. And the phone tracking without info-dumping. Natural keywords. Working late. Phone tracking. Co-worker. Affair. Betrayal. Confrontation. Gut feeling. Trust. Heartbreak. Rage are woven in naturally. Cliffhanger. Ends during the immediate aftermath of the confrontation. Frozen on the sidewalk, listening to the fallout. Nuclear doesn't begin to cover it. Compelling viewers to watch part 2. YouTube safe. Describes intense emotions and the fact of confrontation, shouting, but avoids explicit details of violence, threats, revenge tactics, or overly graphic descriptions of the affair itself. Focuses on the narrator's emotional journey and discovery. Natural tone. Uses contractions. Wasn't, didn't. Sentence fragments for impact, blind rage and crushing heartbreak. And conversational phrasing. You know how life gets. Word count approximately 298 words. Standing there, the cold night air hitting my face. I could still smell her perfume mixed with the faint scent of cigarette smoke from Mark's place. It felt alien, wrong. Just a week ago, we'd been curled up on our couch planning a weekend getaway. Sarah had seemed stressed, sure, but I chalked it up to her new project. Now, those quiet evenings felt like a cruel joke. I thought about all the little things I'd brushed off. A sudden interest in new lingerie she said was just for fun. The way she'd jump when her phone buzzed, quickly silencing it. Just work stuff, babe, she'd say, flashing that tired smile that used to melt me. Was I blind, or just desperately wanting to believe the woman I married was still there? Driving home alone, the silence in the car was suffocating. Every streetlight seemed to spotlight my stupidity. I remembered the first time I felt that nagging doubt. It was maybe 2 months back. She came home late, smelling faintly of a cologne I didn't wear. Mark spilled his drink at the team dinner. She'd laughed, too loud, to have to help him clean up. I'd bought it. Why wouldn't I? We'd built a life on trust. We talked about kids someday. Now the image of her pulling away from Mark's doorway, her face pale, her eyes wide with guilt, it was burned into my brain. That wasn't the Sarah I knew, or maybe I never knew her at all. The house was dark and empty when I got back. Her favorite sweater was draped over the chair. I couldn't even look at it. My mind raced with 1,000 questions. How long had this been going on? Was it just emotional, or physical too? Did her friends know? Did my friends know? The sheer scale of the deception hit me like a wave. All those late nights, were they laughing at me, planning their next move? I pulled up old texts, photos, searching for clues I'd missed, proof that this nightmare started long before tonight. I found a picture from our anniversary dinner last month. She looked beautiful, happy. Was any of it real? Or was every "I love you" just another layer of the lie? And Mark, quiet, unassuming Mark from accounting. The guy I'd actually liked, Had they been sneaking around right under my nose at the office Christmas party at our BBQ last summer? The humiliation was almost as sharp as the pain. She hadn't called, no texts, just radio silence after the explosion at Mark's door. Part of me wanted her to walk in right now, to explain, to somehow make this make sense. The other, bigger part was terrified of what she might say. What could possibly justify this? I stared at my phone, hovering over her name. The question screamed in my head, demanding an answer I wasn't sure I could handle. How long, Sarah? How long have you been living this double life? Why this works builds background, shows glimpses of their seemingly happy past couch planning, anniversary, contrasting sharply with the present betrayal, deepens characters, reveals the narrators, initial trust and subsequent self, introduces Sarah's past behavior, lingerie, jumpy phone, and Mark's role quiet, unassuming coworker, increases suspense, focuses on the agonizing aftermath, the silent drive home, the empty house, the frantic search for missed clues. Core conflict, the affair. The confrontation's fallout is not resolved. That expands mystery, raises critical unanswered questions. Duration of the affair. Physical, emotional. Who else knew? When did it really start? Natural keywords, trust issues, red flags, gaslighting, implied by brushing things off. Emotional affair, physical affair, deception, double life, humiliation, betrayal, workplace affair. Confrontation, aftermath. Human-centric and natural tone. Uses raw, relatable emotions, stupidity, suffocating silence, humiliation, pain, simple language, contractions, and sentence fragments. Just work stuff, babe. Radio silence. Keep it conversational. Strong cliffhanger. Ends on the burning, unanswered question, how long, Sarah? Hooking viewers for the next part. YouTube. Safe focuses entirely on the narrator's internal emotional turmoil, reflections, and questions. No explicit descriptions of the affair or violent revenge fantasies. The silence stretched like a physical thing, thick and suffocating in our dark living room. Every tick of the clock felt like a hammer blow. Then, the key turned in the lock. My stomach clenched into a cold, hard knot. Sarah stepped inside, her face pale under the hallway light, her eyes red and puffy. She looked shattered. But was it guilt, or just the shock of getting caught? Ben, she started, her voice cracking like thin ice. I can explain. She took a shaky step forward, but I held up a hand. That simple gesture stopped her dead. The distance between us felt like miles. Explain. The word came out rough, scraping my throat. Explain tracking your phone to Mark's apartment. Explain the work-late lie. Explain that look on your face when you opened his door. My voice rose, trembling with the effort to stay controlled. Start with how long. That's all I want to know right now. How long have you been lying to me? She flinched, wrapping her arms tightly around herself. It wasn't planned, she whispered, avoiding my eyes, staring at a spot on the floor. It just happened. Things at work got intense. We were under so much pressure. Mark was there, listening. She trailed off, the excuse hanging lamely in the air. Pressure. Listening. Was she blaming her job, blaming me for not listening? Enough. The justification felt like salt in the wound. It just happened, I repeated, disbelief warring with fury. How many times did it just happen, Sarah? Once, twice. Every single time you told me you were working late. The image of her car parked outside his building flashed again. Did you use our money for those hotel rooms you probably booked? Or did Mark pay? Her head snapped up, fresh tears spilling over. It wasn't like that. It wasn't just physical. The admission hung there, heavy and poisonous, not just physical. So there was emotion involved. Shared secrets. Intimacy that wasn't ours anymore. The betrayal cut deeper, stealing my breath. Who was this woman? The quiet accountant she dismissed as boring suddenly became her confidant. It started maybe 3 months ago. Her voice was barely audible. 3 months, a quarter of a year of lies, of shared meals where she smiled at me, of nights she came to bed smelling faintly of his cologne. But it's over, Ben. Tonight, before you came, I was ending it, I swear. Her eyes pleaded for belief. But how could I believe anything now? Was ending it her idea, or did getting caught force her hand? My mind raced. 3 months. What else didn't I know? Had she confided in her best friend, Lisa? Did Lisa cover for her? Were they laughing about clueless Ben over brunch? The paranoia was a living thing, twisting every past interaction into something sinister. What about Mark? Was he really just her coworker? Or was there something more, a power dynamic? Had he pressured her? Or was she just rewriting history to make herself feel less guilty? The questions multiplied, each one a fresh stab. She took another tentative step. Ben, please. I messed up horribly. I know that. But we can fix this. We can get counseling. Counseling. The words sounded hollow, meaningless against the enormity of the lie. Could therapy erase 3 months of secret calls, stolen moments, and another man's hands on my wife? Could it rebuild trust that lay in shattered pieces at my feet? I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I loved was buried under layers of deceit and desperate excuses. The silence stretched again, heavier than before. My voice was flat, drained. ending it tonight, right before I showed up. That's convenient, Sarah. Really convenient. I saw the flicker in her eyes, fear or something else. But here's what I can't stop wondering. If I hadn't tracked your phone, if I hadn't shown up, would you ever have told me? Or would you still be lying to me right now? Her mouth opened, then closed. She had no answer. The quiet in the room wasn't just silence anymore. It was the sound of our marriage collapsing. And then, her phone buzzed on the coffee table. The screen lit up. A single name flashed. Mark. Why this? Works deepens main conflict. Focuses entirely on the painful raw conversation post-confrontation. To explore Sarah's justifications, it just happened. Work pressure, not just physical, and the husband's disbelief and probing questions. Introduces subplots, angles, financial betrayal, questioning if shared money funded the affair. Emotional vs physical. The devastating admission it wasn't just physical. The ending it claim, is it genuine or damage control? Creates huge doubt. Social circle paranoia. Did friends like Lisa know? Were they complicit? Workplace dynamics, potential power imbalance with Mark, pressure, trickle truth. The initial 3 months answer feels unreliable. Implies more might be hidden. Builds suspense. Sarah's explanations feel weak and manipulative, increasing tension. The unanswered question about whether she would have confessed is chilling. That ends on the ultimate cliffhanger with Mark calling. Natural keywords: emotional affair, physical affair, trickle truth, marriage counseling, trust issues, gaslighting, implied, betrayal trauma, workplace romance, lying spouse, confronting infidelity, relationship crisis. Human-centric and natural tone uses simple, visceral language, stomach clenched, voice scraping, salt in the wound, betrayal cut deeper, focuses on internal thoughts, painful dialogue, and body language. Unresolved tension, no resolution on the affair's true nature. Duration, Sarah's sincerity, or what happens next. The Mark call is a massive unresolved hook. YouTube safe, depicts intense emotional conflict and verbal confrontation but avoids explicit details of the affair, threats, violence, or revenge. Focuses on psychological pain and relationship breakdown. The buzz of Sarah's phone on the coffee table shattered the suffocating quiet like a gunshot. Mark, the name glared up at us in the dim light. Sarah froze, her eyes wide with pure panic. She lunged for it, but I was closer, faster. My hand slammed down over the vibrating device. The cold plastic felt like holding a live grenade. Don't, I growled, the word low and dangerous. Her hand hovered, trembling. Let it go to voicemail. The air crackled. Her phone buzzed again, insistent, under my palm. The screen lit up, showing his name once more before finally falling silent. The notification popped up instantly. 1 missed call, 1 new voicemail. The panic on her face shifted into something else, raw fear. Ben, please, she whispered, her voice thin and desperate. Just give me the phone. You need. I cut her off, my voice rising despite myself. What could you possibly need to say to him right now? After everything. After this. I gestured wildly between us. At the ruins of our living room, of our life. Is he checking in? Making sure his story matches yours, or is he upset you got caught? She flinched as if struck. It's not like that. But her eyes darted towards the phone, betraying her. The secrecy, the lies, they weren't over. The affair might be ended according to her convenient timeline, but the deception was clearly still running deep. Trickle truth. Every word out of her mouth felt like another layer of the lie peeling back to reveal a worse one underneath. Then what is it like, Sarah? My hand was still on the phone. Play the voicemail right now, put it on speaker. Let's both hear what Mark has to say so urgently after you supposedly ended things. The demand hung heavy. It felt like a do-or-die moment. Would she finally show transparency, or crumble completely? Her face went ashen. I can't, she stammered, backing up a step. It's complicated. You don't understand the situation. Complicated. The laugh that escaped me was harsh, brittle. You cheating on me for months with your coworker, lying to my face, getting caught red-handed, and now secret calls. That's not complicated, Sarah. That's you still hiding something. Something big. The paranoia, the distrust. It wasn't just suspicion anymore. It was a certainty. There was more, much more. Workplace affairs were messy. Tangled webs was their blackmail. Had they broken company rules? Was her job on the line? Or Mark's? Was that the real reason for her terror? Before she could spin another weak excuse, her phone buzzed again in my hand. Not a call this time, a text notification. The preview lit up the screen, clear as day even from the angle I held it. Mark, Sarah, we need to talk. It's urgent. He knows about the preview cut off. My blood ran cold. He knows about the what? The affair, or something else, something worse. Who was he? Her boss, HR, someone else entirely. The unfinished message screamed danger, secrets spiraling out far beyond just the two of them. My eyes snapped back to Sarah. All color had drained from her face. She looked like she might be sick. The sheer terror in her eyes confirmed it. This wasn't just about a broken marriage anymore. This was something darker, something with consequences I couldn't even fathom yet. The ground felt like it was shifting under my feet. The affair was the explosion, but this felt like the shockwave tearing everything apart. "Sarah," I said, my voice deadly calm, holding the phone up like evidence. "What did you do?" I tapped the screen, unlocking it with the passcode. I still knew our anniversary date, a bitter irony now. The full message glowed, waiting, and who the hell is he? My thumb hovered over the text thread. One tap, and whatever fragile control she had left would vanish. The truth, whatever ugly, terrifying shape it took, was one click away. Her breath hitched, a trapped, desperate sound. The walls felt like they were closing in. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a freefall. The phone felt like ice in my hand. Sarah's terrified eyes locked onto mine, begging without words. My thumb hovered over the text thread, the unfinished message screaming its warning. "He knows about the silence pulsed, thick with dread." One tap, that's all it would take. I tapped. The full message loaded, stark and terrifying under the dim light. "Mark, Sarah, we need to talk. It's urgent. He knows about the transfers. The audit starts Monday. They're tracing everything. Transfers, audit, tracing everything." The words hit me like physical blows. This wasn't just about stolen moments or broken vows. This was about stolen money. My blood, already cold, turned to sludge. "What transfers?" My voice was barely a whisper, choked with disbelief. "Sarah, what did you do?" She crumpled, sinking onto the edge of the sofa, her face buried in her hands. Sobs racked her body, ugly and raw. It wasn't supposed to be like this." She gasped between heaving breaths. "It started small, just covering a shortfall." Mark said it was temporary, just until the quarter closed. Easy to hide a shortfall, hiding money. The pieces slammed together with sickening clarity. The sudden expensive gifts she'd bought with her bonus. The unexplained cash withdrawals, a constant, frantic stress about work performance reviews. It wasn't just the affair she was hiding. It was fraud, embezzlement. "You were stealing from your own company." With Mark, it was his idea, she blurted, lifting her tear-streaked face, a flash of desperate blame shifting towards him. "He knew the systems. He said we could put it back before anyone noticed, but the amounts, they got bigger." Her voice dissolved into another sob. "We couldn't keep up." My mind reeled. The affair wasn't just about attraction or loneliness. It was a twisted partnership forged in panic and greed. Where the late nights at work spent faking reports, where the secret meetings at Mark's apartment about covering their tracks, had their entire relationship been poisoned by this shared, a terrifying secret. The betrayal wasn't just emotional or physical anymore. It was financial, criminal. The stakes weren't just our marriage imploding. They were potential prison time, destroyed careers, utter ruin, and the affair. I forced the words out, needing to know the ugly truth. Was that part of the deal or just a bonus? She flinched violently. "No, it happened after. The stress, the fear of getting caught." We leaned on each other. Her explanation sounded hollow, pathetic. Did she really believe that? Or was she just another pawn in Mark's scheme? The man I'd thought was a quiet coworker now looked like a predator. Had he targeted her vulnerability? Used the financial mess to manipulate her into the affair? The layers of deception were suffocating. Mark's phone buzzed again in my hand, vibrating frantically. Another text. "Mark, stop ignoring me. They have the ledger discrepancies. HR called me in tomorrow. We need a story now. Did you delete the files like I told you?" Files, ledger discrepancies, deleting evidence. Panic, cold and primal, surged through me. They weren't just covering up an affair. They were actively destroying proof of a crime, and I was holding the smoking gun, her phone filled with incriminating messages. Was I now an accessory just by knowing? By holding this evidence? I looked at Sarah, a stranger drowning in her own lies. The woman I loved was gone, replaced by someone capable of unimaginable deceit, tangled in a web of financial betrayal and workplace scandal. The personal devastation was now dwarfed by the looming professional and legal catastrophe. The nuclear confrontation at Mark's door felt like a firecracker compared to the hydrogen bomb about to detonate. "Who is he?" I demanded, my voice trembling with a mix of fury and terror. "Who knows about the transfers? Your boss, HR, the police." The silence stretched, punctuated only by her ragged breathing. The truth was a monster lurking just out of sight, and its shadow was swallowing everything whole. My thumb hovered over Mark's contact. Calling him felt like stepping into the abyss. But not calling felt like waiting for the axe to fall. The room felt like it was spinning. This wasn't just about saving a marriage anymore. It was about surviving the fallout. Sarah looked up, her eyes filled with a new kind of horror. "Ben," she whispered, the sound chillingly final. "If they find out, they'll put me in jail." The weight of her words, "they'll put me in jail," crashed down like a ton of bricks. Her terror was real, raw, and for a split second, the husband I used to be wanted to fix it, to shield her. But the man standing there now, holding proof of her lies and crimes, felt nothing but cold, hollow fury. This wasn't just betrayal. It was self-destruction that threatened to take me down with it. Mark's phone buzzed again, frantic. "Mark, answer me. They found the backup server files. It's over. They know it's us. Get a lawyer. Now the finality of it hit Sarah like a physical blow. She whimpered, shrinking into the couch. The house of cards they'd built was collapsing in real time. Give me the phone, Ben, she pleaded, a new, desperate strength in her voice. Please, I need to call him. I need to know what they know. No, I said, the words surprisingly steady. You don't call Mark. You call a lawyer. And then, I took a deep, shuddering breath. The hardest decision of my life forming. You call HR. You confess. To everything. The money, the affair, all of it. Her eyes widened in pure panic. Confess, Ben. They'll prosecute. I could go to prison for years, and if you try to run, if you lie more, if you let Mark spin some story. I held the phone up, the damning texts glowing. It'll be worse. They have evidence, Sarah. They're tracing it. Running only makes you look guiltier, maybe. Maybe confessing, cooperating, showing remorse. Maybe that gets you some leniency. I didn't know if it was true, but it felt like the only path that wasn't total scorched earth ruin for her, and selfishly, for me, I couldn't be tied to this, implicated by association or silence. The internal war raged on her face, terror versus adorning. Horrific acceptance. The affair felt trivial now, buried under the mountain of financial betrayal and legal peril. The nuclear confrontation was just the spark. This was the radioactive fallout. Suddenly, her phone rang again. Not Mark this time. An unknown number. The HR department's main line flashed on the screen. They were moving faster than she feared. She stared at it, frozen. The buzzing filled the silent, ruined space of our living room. This was it. The point of no return. Her hand trembled violently as she reached out, not for my hand, but for the device that held her doom. Sarah, I said, my voice low and final, answer it. Tell them you'll come in tomorrow with your lawyer. And tell them you want to make a statement about everything. She looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time since I'd pounded on Mark's door. The guilt, the fear, the shame, it was all there, overwhelming. But beneath it, maybe, just maybe, a flicker of the woman who once knew right from wrong. With a trembling finger, she swiped to answer, putting it on speaker. A cool, professional female voice filled the room. Ms. Thompson. This is Evelyn Reed from Human Resources. We need you to come in for a meeting first thing tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp. It's regarding a serious internal matter. Sarah swallowed hard, tears streaming silently down her face. Her voice, when it came, was a broken whisper, but clear. I understand. I'll be there. I want to bring my lawyer and... She took a ragged breath, closing her eyes as if bracing for impact. And I want to make a full statement about the financial discrepancies and about Mark Dawson's involvement. About everything. The woman on the other end paused, a slight shift in her tone. That is unexpected, Miss Thompson, but noted. We will see you at 9 a.m. Have your legal counsel contact me directly. The line went dead. The silence that followed was profound. Sarah dropped the phone like it was burning her, burying her face in her hands again, her body racked with silent sobs. She'd chosen the path of confession. The road ahead was unimaginably hard. Investigations, lawyers, likely criminal charges, the utter destruction of her career, and the certain end of our marriage. But it was a path out of the suffocating web of lies she and Mark had woven. I stood up, feeling utterly drained. There was no victory here, only relief that the freefall might be ending, replaced by a terrible, painful landing. I walked towards the door, needing air, needing space from the ruins of the life we'd shared. Ben, her voice was a shattered whisper behind me. I stopped, hand on the doorknob, but didn't turn around. I am so sorry for all of it. You deserved so much better. I didn't answer. Words were meaningless now. The apology, however genuine it might be in this moment of utter defeat, couldn't rebuild what was broken. I opened the door. As I stepped out into the cool night air, leaving the husk of our marriage and the wreckage of her choices behind, my own phone buzzed. A notification from a banking app I rarely checked. My personal savings account, the balance was significantly higher than it should have been. And there, just below it, a line item from earlier that day, transfer received, $18,750, from Sarah Thompson joint account. My blood ran cold. She'd transferred stolen money into my account. Before the confrontation, before the world blew up, a final desperate act, a way to implicate me, or a twisted, panicked attempt to provide before it all came crashing down. The legal nightmare wasn't just hers anymore. That final, unexpected twist hit me like a physical blow as I stood alone on the dark porch. The fallout had just found a new target. The porch light buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows as I stared at my phone screen. $18,750, stolen money. My account. Sarah's final, devastating move. Panic clawed at my throat. Was this a setup? A desperate attempt to share the blame, or just sheer stupid panic? It didn't matter. The damage was done. I was now tangled in her web. Walking back inside felt like stepping into a war zone. Sarah hadn't moved, still crumpled on the sofa, hollow-eyed. I didn't yell. The fight was gone, replaced by a chilling clarity. I showed her the screen. Explain this now. Her eyes widened, genuine shock mixing with the despair. I panicked, she whispered, her voice raw. When Mark said they were tracing, I thought, if I moved some, just enough to cover, maybe it would look less bad, or she trailed off, realizing how insane it sounded. I was going to tell you, I swear I didn't get the chance before. She gestured weakly towards the door, meaning the confrontation, the nuclear fallout. There was no trust left to question. Her confession to HR was a start, but this implicated me directly in her financial betrayal. You put stolen money in my account, Sarah, I stated, my voice flat, numb. After everything else, you made me part of your crime. The next 48 hours were a blur of lawyers, cold fear, and brutal honesty. I met with my own attorney immediately, laying out everything: the affair, the confrontation, the damning texts, the unexpected deposit. He contacted Sarah's lawyer and HR. My priority was crystal clear: prove I had no knowledge, no involvement. I handed over my phone, bank records, everything. It was humiliating, invasive, but necessary for damage control. The embezzlement investigation exploded. Mark was fired instantly, arrested within days. Sarah, cooperating fully after her initial confession, avoided immediate arrest but faced suspension and a mountain of legal trouble. The stolen funds, including the amount dumped into my account, were frozen. My lawyer fought hard, using the timestamps of the transfer just hours before the confrontation and the mountain of evidence showing my complete ignorance to finally clear my name legally, but the stain that remained at our marriage was beyond saving. The affair was one wound, the financial fraud, a deeper, more poisonous one, transferring stolen money into my account. That was the kill shot. The divorce papers were filed swiftly, uncontested. There were no screaming matches, just a heavy, grief-laden silence as we divided the shattered pieces of a life built on lies. She signed over her share of the house, wanting no fight, consumed by her own impending legal hell. Mark, facing steeper charges as the apparent instigator, tried blaming Sarah, but her cooperation and the digital trail buried him. Justice was grinding forward, cold and impersonal, standing in the empty house weeks later. Keys ready to hand over to the new owners. The silence was profound. No ticking clock, no buzzing phone, no lies hanging in the air. The relief was immense, but so was the hollow ache. Healing from betrayal trauma like this wouldn't be quick. Trust felt like a foreign language, but there was a grim kind of freedom in knowing the truth. However ugly, Sarah's path led towards legal reckoning and personal ruin. Mine led towards a painful, necessary rebuilding. As I locked the door for the last time, I didn't look back. The past was a minefield, the future uncertain. But it was finally, solely, mine. The lesson screamed from the ruins. Some secrets aren't just relationship killers, they're life-destroying bombs. Rebuilding trust, starting with trust in myself, began now. One step at a time, away from the fallout.